How's it going, everybody? I am CT Hurix. With me, of course, is Sideshow Gaming, and we got a lot of games on board here, Sideshow, and really looking forward to these. Today is the EU playoffs, and it's going to be upper bracket finals up first, followed by lower bracket finals, where the team that winds up losing is going to be sent down to take on Dignitas. How you feeling today, Sideshow?
I'm feeling good. We've got some great games. It's got to the point of our bracket where it's all best of five as well. So even if there've been some like upsets or results that you weren't going to expect so far, and there's definitely been those in the lower bracket of both this and the North American tournament, actually, it's real crunch time now, and we've got what should be the three best teams in this tournament. Should be some excellent games coming up.
I'm definitely really excited about this. Let's look over at the standings right now, Sideshow, and take a look at basically what's been going on so far. Obviously, we saw eUnited pushing through the bottom side of the upper bracket and beating out Misfits 2-0. And then, of course, Movistar Riders on the top side beating out NIP 2-0 as well. So both of these teams looking incredibly strong. What do you take out of this at the moment with these two teams facing up against each other, given their performance so far in the upper bracket?
It's really crazy because both of these teams, when they came through the groups, were the second place teams in their group, Movistar Riders and eUnited, and they had both lost to the teams that their opponents have knocked out in this tournament bracket. So eUnited lost to NIP in the group stage. They looked like they were underperforming in that particular game, and then Movistar Riders come through and 2-0 them in an incredible clutch series that was just fantastic to watch, but really relied on clutch power from a lot of the Movistar Riders guys. And then over on the other side of the bracket, as you said, eUnited take down Misfits and show dominance on King's Row. It's got to be said, eUnited have got one of the best records coming through this tournament, and have long been thought of as being a top European team, whereas Movistar Riders, it's much more like a dark horse of the tournament that's really coming up and showing everybody what they've got.
So, jumping into this first match, it is going to be Lijiang Tower, and we have seen eUnited performing quite well in the past on this map, but of course Movistar Riders has shown that they're capable of taking some really strong teams on as well on King of the Hill, even as well. And I don't know, what are your takes on this right here? I mean, given the fact that the first map is going to be Lijiang Tower, and we have potentially five maps that we could see today, as it is going to be best of five throughout the rest of the tournament here, as well as two new maps added to the map pool, and that is going to be Dorado and Ilios.
Yeah, that's really interesting because Ilios is a really good map for eUnited, and we haven't seen Movistar Riders play on either of those maps. But in terms of Lijiang, Movistar only have one win so far in this tournament on Lijiang. That's against Vivi's Adventure, a slightly lower level team compared to the kind of caliber that we're currently seeing. Whereas eUnited were able to take the victory over Misfits on this map and looked pretty solid while they were doing it. Yes, it's not one of Misfits' best maps, and they did look sloppy compared to their usual play. But eUnited have looked clinical when they're playing this triple DPS. And we saw Movistar Riders struggle when they were playing triple DPS v triple DPS in that matchup against Vivi's Adventure. So eUnited on control, this is their chance, I think, to establish some sort of early lead.
And now we will see those comps coming out, and that is going to be that mirror composition with Rubicon and Dante both on Zenyatta here to start things off on Night Market, and Unfixed already trying to find some damage early on, just working that weapon there. And we do see Kolsty actually coming through and already dropping his barrier, and Sherrick just kind of holding back, waiting to pounce here. And we've seen this from eUnited in the past, just basically trying to get someone down low before they actually just pounce right in, and nobody getting too low. And we already see Kolsty coming in, actually, as he's just dove right in, and Stark following that up should be able to get him down pretty low, but he actually does finally make an exit. And Valutaja now pulling back to that health pack, getting himself healthy, as Shark does indeed fall to Logix. And on the point, it looks like Movistar Riders actually able to pull this one through.
Yeah, they managed to sucker in a couple of players of eUnited, and then Logic's getting that early pick onto Sharek really opened it up for the rest of their team, and they baited in another player. Cruz goes down, Valutaja fell as well, and in the meantime, Dante was just kind of tying them all up outside. They didn't want to commit to the point because they'd be getting orbs in the back of the head.
But everybody getting pretty close to getting those ultimates. Valutaja actually on the point already and almost got that tick back over, but not going to be able to swap that in his favor, and he's getting aggressive once again as Finzi actually finds a kill, and Movistar Riders definitely looking dominant so far, and now Finzi going to be able to win that 1v1 despite the fact that he did have that Discord on him. Rubicon pulling out that Transcendence, but that is not going to have too much of an effect as Dante pulled out one of his own, and we do see Cruz falling off the map, and eUnited forced to back off once again here as Rubicon goes down yet another time.
They almost grabbed the point there, eUnited. They were incredibly close, but those ultimates coming out were well used. But just particularly the Transcendence coming out from Dante. Rubicon replied with his own as well, but Cruz had to pull out his Dragon Blade in the middle of it, or decided to rather. So they're going to play for the point really early on, but there's a lot of ultimates up here, and Primal Rage immediately, Sound Barrier as well to reply from eUnited as they try and take this point back.
And Swoosh pulling out the Dragon Blade as well, looking for some options to take some kills, but ultimately not going to really find too much. Unfixed going to be trying to put some damage into him as he actually gets Discord, but that's going to swap off, and Logix has just been going off so far this game. Should be able to put Rubicon and actually zone him off back towards the point as Cruz jumps back in alongside Shark. And we do see the Sticky coming out on the Shark, but still, it is actually eUnited coming through with 3 kills as they're looking to try to get control of the point once again. Discord comes out onto Kolsty, and he gets sent off the map. And Valitaja with 2 kills to close things out. And eUnited did flip it a while ago, so they're already at 25% here.
And this fight could have been a big shift in momentum on this first stage of Night Market, because Rubicon's managed to put in enough damage that he has an advantage in terms of his ultimate, and Morte's starting to catch up with Neptuno, despite the fact that Neptuno used his ultimate not that long ago. So if they can start snowballing the next couple of fights, they might end up getting the lead, and that early pick on Kolsty's not going to help. Sharek picking up 2 to start.
Yeah, and that's going to be a trade actually between Sharek and Swoosh, but ooh, a nice kill actually from Rubicon there as he just closed it out onto Dante. And again, that's just going to be a shutdown of the mirror, and that's obviously very, very good for eUnited as they're getting pretty close now to tying things up, and they should indeed by the time this next fight happens. I mean, they should actually have a lead at that point, but again, both sides definitely looking like they're going to be pushing some ults into the next one, as we do see Neptuno getting close to that Sound Barrier should come out here, and we also see Rubicon pulling out the Transcendence. Valitaja with 2 kills with the Sticky, and already a nice 6v4 advantage as the rest of Movistar fall. That's a team wipe. eUnited pulling that one out nicely.
That's insane that Valitaja gets both of those kills. It's essentially the only way that you can get kills when the Transcendences are both being popped off. The healing, you know, you need some really fat burst damage to be able to get through all of that. And Valitaja comes out with 2, instantly kills the push, and they only have to use 1 extra ultimate to get it. Cruz still has his Dragon Blade, and he's going to use that up top.
Yeah, Swoosh pulling out one of his own. They actually do wind up getting that kill, I believe, because Sound Barrier has a little effect or something like that. But it will be actually eUnited pulling that one out. And that's going to be 1-0 in favor of eUnited moving into this second map here.
Really well played by them overall. When you think about the presence of mind they had to be able to make sure they won the crucial fights, because although they lost control of the point early on, the ultimate situation wasn't bad for them. They had forced the ultimates out of the attacking team once they'd actually got on there. Movistar Riders had to expend them to take control of the point, and then eUnited replied back and are able to tip a team fight without actually using extra ultimates. So they end up building a bank up that they can just hold on with for the rest of the round. But this control center tends to play slightly differently. We've seen a number of teams go over to the tanks when they go to control center. Even had a couple of like Sombra picks or Farah come out, but both of these teams sticking with the triple DPS, and it can certainly work well.
I also like the aggression from Cruz at the very end, just to kind of force people to try to deal with them so they couldn't make their way over to the point and try to contest that. But nonetheless, moving on to this new stage of the map here, we will be seeing Rubicon taken out quite early by Logix. And again, Logix has definitely been a really strong performer so far throughout this series, even though it's only been 1 map. We've definitely seen both Chasers stepping up, with Valitaja, of course, making that nice pulse bomb play early on. And now we are going to be seeing eUnited looking for an opportunity to re-engage here as Movistar Riders with the first cap here on Control Center, and Logix holding down the side and of course looking for those targets. Going to be looking at Sharek here, who did get down pretty low, and actually Cruz in a little bit of trouble here as he's forced to pull back and get some healing, but they are definitely focusing him a bit, and Unfixed actually falling there. So Movistar Riders with a pretty early advantage in this next fight, as Swoosh actually getting taken down pretty low, but nonetheless we are going to be seeing some great support coming out, and that's going to be another kill onto Cruz, and that will shut eUnited down and force them back to this spawn here, as Rubicon more than likely will fall here. Neptuno coming forward with that increased Lucio damage to find that kill.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see how these recent changes have affected the games. Obviously, the change in on other maps, we'll probably be talking about how the control points have shifted, but the Lucio changes as well. We're just starting to see like little subtle hints of how it's changing the game so far, but nothing concrete as yet. And certainly Dive doesn't seem to be that affected, as both of these teams rocking at the moment. Logix with another pulse bomb, Just to take down Sharik, but the point is flipped towards eUnited, and they're starting to get ultimates on the board, just across the board as well. Almost everybody's going to have them up for the next fight.
I'm interested in one. I mean, I'm kind of wondering why Movistar Riders actually gave that point up. We saw actually Sharik coming through and taking that kill off on Finzi early on, and they just established control early, but it is going to be Cruz actually pulling out the Dragon Blade right here, looking for some kills, looking at Neptuno especially, but Colsey's going to come back and actually support him. Valataja getting kind of low himself, and with Unfixed pulling out that tactical visor, he just didn't really find all too much, so Movistar Riders actually with an opportunity to go for a re-entry and take this point back, and they do indeed, with only 2 people on the point, and now actually Colsey getting taken down pretty low. We do see Dante pulling out that Transcendence, and that's going to be the Sound Barrier coming out as well, so support ults for both sides looking to try to sustain this fight, and with the Primal Rage coming out there from Colsey, they're definitely looking to try to do that, but the burst damage coming out from eUnited is actually insane, as Valataja is getting down pretty low, but should be safe here as Cruz finds 2, and that's going to be the point flipped yet again here by eUnited.
Small communication issues, I think, because Colsey was getting weak and popped off his Primal Rage to keep him alive at the same time as Dante used his Transcendence to keep him alive as well and allowed them to engage. So one or the other would have sufficed there, I think, to be able to start the fight, or even though you'd want to use them at some point to try and keep it going. But that gave eUnited just a little bit of room that they needed to be able to get in. And now Sharik just waiting up top, waiting to choose a target, because once one player goes down, they all tend to fall.
And there's the tactical visor coming out there from Finzi, actually forced back, almost taken out actually by the Reflect, but Cruz will fall, and so will the rest of eUnited as Logic pulls through there on the Tracer. Should be able to find Unfixed as well, and that will be the final kill as Movistar Riders with an advantage right now, looking like this could be potentially the last fight here of Control Center. And now moving
Rubicon with the Transcendence and the tactical visor up as well, and there's nothing to reply with on the other team, so they could be crucial. They absolutely have to win this fight here, and they have wiping ability.
They absolutely do. Valataja getting down pretty low, though. He needs some healing. Unfixed getting ready with that tac visor. Needs to have a good position for this, though, and Colsey actually falling back now. We'll have to see if he does have his barrier, and he does not. He's waiting for that opportunity. Could be able to block out some of that damage, but Morte with a double kill there to set things up. They're already going to be flipping the point, and with that kill, it's going to be sending Movistar Riders back. I mean, Movistar Riders have not been contesting the point all too much. We've seen them falling back and being very hesitant. What do you make of that, Sideshow?
Yeah, they're reluctant to give up the first kill. If they try and contest and they give up the first kill, the first blood means almost anything. You can start a snowball rolling immediately. Sound Barrier used here. Unfixed still has his tac visor. He's used it up top. Great positioning from Unfixed as he drops down, forces out the Transcendence. But there's players on his team falling all over the place anyway. They're still in control of the point. 97% for both teams. But this is the last fight, and there's player advantage here for... Oh, they flipped the point as well, Movistar Riders. So difficult for United to get back into this.
It's going to come down to if Cruz can jump on the point, but that's not going to be the case, as we did see Unfixed taken out as well as Morte, and Cruz unable to get on the point. He did have his Dragon Blade, but such an important kill actually coming out from Swoosh to be able to find that Dragon Blade onto Cruz to shut him down, because Cruz definitely could have flipped that one for them. Now, moving on to Garden here, it is tied 1-1. Who do you think has the advantage going into this one, given the fact that we're, obviously going to see some Pharahs in this one?
Yeah, in general, the way that eUnited plays this particular stage, I tend to like. They run Cruz or Unfixed on Pharah until they are getting reduced impact out of it, and then they switch back to their other compositions. I generally like it. They tend to play when they're in control of the point very well, but both of these teams have just fantastic talent across the board. And you see that every fight balances on a knife's edge. It's strange because these are such aggressive compositions in general when you're playing against other comps, but when they're playing together, they're so tentative. They don't want to give away the first death, because that could mean a lost team fight immediately.
Yeah, so obviously Cruz is going to be on the Pharah as opposed to Unfixed, as they want that soldier involved, and if they do have that reduced impact that Sideshow was just talking about, then of course Cruz can always fall back to that Genji for an easy swap. But nonetheless, we see the barrier dropping now for Movistar Riders, which means open season here, and they will jump onto the point looking for an early kill, and that's going to be found with Finzi. Helix Rocket straight to the body of Valataja, who's going to be falling out, and that's going to be eUnited once again, forced to back up, with Movistar Riders looking quite dominant to start things here.
They seem to have better early position, Movistar Riders. They very rarely give anything away, and it seems like eUnited, their players are a little more used to making the plays perhaps in this dive composition, and feel like they have the individual ability to go out there and grab a couple of picks, and then they end up just getting baited and fall at the beginning. But overall, Movistar playing with a lot of discipline.
And already some early aggression coming out from Shark, and he's getting taken down pretty low. Needs the healing, is in the LOS, but not going to be able to save him as Colsey comes around that corner. And now we do see the trades 4v4 on the point with Swoosh getting taken down pretty low. And Cruz has actually swapped over to that Genji that we talked about and looking to dominate on the point. And Pulse Bomb's coming out there for Logix as he's looking to stay on the point and try to keep this locked in. We didn't see Movistar Riders holding on to the point for very long on the last map, but nonetheless it is going to be the case here as they're jumping all over the place. And eUnited with 4 kills, I mean, still trying to find that point for themselves, and that's finally going to get flipped there. 52% here though for Movistar Riders.
I really like this from eUnited. They realize that they're losing the battle outside in the Pharah v Pharah, and they can't really find a good way to initiate onto Movistar Riders, so instead they're just going to go straight for the point, force it all to be happening inside of this pagoda, and then they've got the Pharah, which Swoosh previously was on, within Winston range, and he's had to switch off to Genji because they realize that isn't going to work.
And now we do see 2 kills coming out already from Movistar Riders as the Transcendence pulls out. The sustain definitely in fit. Ooh, some nice damage though from Unfixed. Are they going to be able to retake this? And actually, it's not going to be the case as they fall back. And Winston looking for some kills. Gets slept, but Unfixed jumps off there as he does get kicked off by Colsey with the Primal Rage. So really, really valuable ult there to be able to follow up and find some kills. Take some precious time away from eUnited here, who, I mean, obviously could at any point take this point back, but of course we want to see, if you're a Movistar Riders fan, them just pulling out anything that they possibly can, so really good play from him there.
Haven't seen much utility as yet from the Biotic Grenades or Nano Boost coming out from Rubicon, who has switched over to Ana right now. And as they go in for another initiation, Sharek has the Primal Rage. They can afford to use that as it's a distraction for Cruz's Dragon Blade in the back. He's trying to pick up fights, but just taking the 1v1 duel against Swoosh. The rest of his team, thankfully, though, come through for him, and eUnited flip the point. They cannot afford to give this up, though. Gardens will be lost if Movistar Riders take the point one more time.
That was one of the most valuable Primal Rages that we could have possibly seen from Shark. He actually booped Neptuno right off the point in a kind of odd fashion, but Neptuno had that sound barrier, so very valuable there as we are seeing Movistar Riders engage with that sound barrier now. When we see the Nano Boost coming out from Rubicon, that's on the Shark. They're looking for some kills, but Swoosh already going to find one of his own onto Rubicon right after that Nano Boost came out, and now 4 kills. And man, Movistar Riders looking like they're going to be able to take this one. The firepower from these guys is actually insane. They seem so lethal right now, Sideshow.
They certainly do. They look like a team that's been developing more and more the more we see from them throughout this tournament. You've got to say the same about Dignitas actually as well, because their run through the lower bracket over the last couple of days, mostly yesterday, was utterly ridiculous, and they look like they've really developed. But the same can definitely be said about Movistar Riders. They seem to get more coordinated and more practiced with this particular composition every time we see them, and now they're really taking the game to eUnited up 2-1 on Lijiang.
And eUnited with 1 win right now, but if we look back, I mean, on Night Market, they were pretty close. I mean, they basically had to steal it away from Movistar Riders and take away the momentum that they had, and now Movistar Riders, of course, looking incredibly strong. I mean, what do you think the chances are here for eUnited to pull things out, and what do you think they would have to change to make it happen?
I think that this particular stage plays quite differently to the other two in that you've got the fight happening outside as well as a flank going round onto the point, and if teams commit onto the point, you can end up just shooting them in the back. So both of the teams trying to win the fight outside and delaying and trying to split up the enemy team into 2 points. Aggressive play to start it out by Colsey. It's a little surprising. He's gonna take a bit of pressure and then move back in with the rest of his team. But both trying to play a little more tentatively, build up that charge, see if they can get some crucial headshots or damage onto another player that they can then jump in onto. But for the moment, as the point ticks up, Colsey again aggressive, but in general, eUnited getting the better end of the positioning, it seems.
And Cruz with the kill to start things off. That's on a Colsey. Colsey's been having the worst of it so far. I mean, he's been forced to try to create these engages, and eUnited have been basically just prepping for them. Every time he jumps in, they've just been laying into him, reducing him to nothing for the most part here, at least on this first part of the map. And now we will see Colsey re-entering on the point, and that's going to be backing Cruz off of it. We already saw eUnited pulling through with that first cap, and they're going to be jumping on to try to hold on to it. But still, I mean, early lead to Movistar Riders as they start things off. But Cruz coming through, finding 2 kills there. And that's going to be Shark following up with another as they find a 4th, and now maybe a 5th perhaps. But that will be eUnited holding on there. Dragon Blade starting off here for Cruz into this next one.
A great play by him, just able to get the swift strikes through everybody, and then a couple of flashed out shurikens to be able to finish off a few kills. And as you said, they generated a lot of ultimates here. But they're starting to come up on the board as well for Movistar. They'll be able to have a bit of a clash. If they can turn it, that'll be a big swing in momentum. But they're looking to hold on, but that early death on Sharek is not going to help them. Rubicon a little late with the Transcendence, and he didn't have his Primal Rage up either. They should be able to get the better end of the fight, though, just off the back of the Transcendence. But they've essentially given the ultimate advantage over to Movistar, and they're even getting the picks at the end here as well.
We did see Fenzi taken out. Cruz again with the great follow-up there. Should be able to take out Swoosh, and they do indeed as Shark comes back over to kind of save the day a little bit. Provide some great control to the side of eUnited.
Oh, they just about hang on. Morte's at 88%. Oh, he's building it fairly quickly, actually. This change to the Lucio, you can visibly see on the health bars the Lucio spam doing quite a bit more damage than they used to.
Definitely the case here as Unfixed pulling back and looking for some good positioning for that tactical visor, as we see support ults coming out on the side of Movistar Riders, and now returned in favor of eUnited. But 2 kills already from Movistar Riders as Swoosh has already pulled out his Dragon Blade, and they finally take down Colsty, but that's all that they've gotten so far. 99% now as it goes into overtime here. Movistar Riders looking to take this one away. Transcendence at the ready for Dante, and they need to make sure that he gets kept alive, and he's actually forced to pull that one out as Morte finds a kill onto Neptuno. He's keeping these guys alive, and Swoosh with 2 kills. They should be able to flip this. They do indeed. Valotaja trying to take whatever he can, but that's not going to last too long, and eventually he will die out or be forced to leave.
I like everything about that from eUnited other than the commitment of the Primal Rage at the end from Sharek, because they forced out almost every impactful ultimate that they had. Both of the support ults, the Primal Rage, also the Dragon Blade coming out from Swoosh, just to flip the point, and they're on 99%. So if they keep their ultimates live, then they're in a great position to retake over the course of the next 100 seconds. But now they're in a bit of a sticky position. They still have the Transcendence, that should be enough to win them the fight, but they need to get these kills now and retake the point.
Rubicon pulling out that Transcendence there just to give them a little bit of an edge. They find the kill on Logix. That's going to be huge. Tactivisor coming out from Fenzi, looking to try to swing things back in their favor. Shark forced the barrier down, and they're looking for that kill. He somehow managed to stay alive, but actually Valotaja unable. Cruz looking to turn things actually with a nice Dragon Blade, already finding 2 kills and trying to take on Swoosh over here. Does have the Discord, lands the headshot with the right click. And that's going to be it, as eUnited just need to finish off these kills, and one of those is going to be on Logix Unfixed as well as Cruz coming together. That burst damage with eUnited just so strong, and they will be tying it up 2-2 here, Sideshow.
That's insane. These teams so evenly matched and using the exact same compositions most of the time as well. And in this final round that decides who takes the first map and the early lead in this best of 5 series, they've already been playing tentatively, and already the tension was palpable between these two teams, because you've got low health pools, really high skilled and high damage dealing opponents, and any slip up could cost you a team fight. It's going to be on an absolute knife's edge between these two teams in the last one. Could come down to some clutch adaptations. None of the teams have tried anything different in terms of their triple DPS strategies, and that would be certainly like a surprising time to pull it out, for better or worse. But it looks like both teams are going to go with the Pharah to start off.
Would definitely be a huge gamble if someone did make one of those swaps. I expect this to kind of swap back over to some Genji play a little bit, obviously as we've seen before as well. But Neptuno actually getting taken down pretty low. Cruz, of course, getting some good damage off, and Colsty needs to be careful here. Valotaja getting kind of low as well, and Valotaja actually going to be dying off as Fenzi once again so consistent with those Helix rockets, and it will be Cruz making that trade and looking for another there onto Dante, but Cruz going to be taken out by Colsty as Rubicon trying to go ahead and find that trade onto the Pharah. Not going to be able to find it. Shark going to fall, and it will be more than likely Movistar Riders here with, again, an early advantage as they take this first point.
And the problem with diving into them is, even though Rubicon got a good biotic grenade, your players are overextended and away from the support line, and they can't quite finish off the kills, and you're playing right underneath Swoosh, who's just stood above you, flying above you, obviously, and much easier to land rockets when you're at that kind of range, and he's piling damage into them from that distance. And now Unfixed and Cruz on the Soldier 76 and Genji, respectively. See if they can deal with him a little bit. They've got Rubicon on Ana as well to try and see if they can pick Swoosh out the air.
We're seeing Cruz getting aggressive here with Sharek, and actually looking for Fenzi. They do get him pretty low, and Biotic Grenade coming out as well from Rubicon, trying to shut down the healing, but Colsey going to be able to find that kill Swoosh getting kind of low, actually going to be taken out as well. Valutaja was taken out pretty early in that first fight, but now coming alive here as he finds 2. Pulse Bomb at the ready. Neptuno kind of low, but does have that extra little bit of healing, and it is going to be Fenzi once again finding that kill on Valutaja to close things out for that second fight.
Oh, that fight's so close to flipping the point over, but Movistar Riders hold on, and now they've got a lot of ultimates to work with. Going to be difficult. Nano Boost is live, along with the Tactical Visor. See how they pair it? That should be able to pick off Swoosh as well. Might use the Nano here onto Sharik as well. Able to spread out their ultimates across the board. Much harder to shut them down, but Sharik's already taking a lot of damage as well, and the first kill's actually on Morte.
Oh, and they do unleash the Primal Rage. Logic's running at him as well, and they actually kill off Unfixed. So that Tact Visor really only taking out one person. Swoosh coming out with the Barrage will find one, and that's onto Rubicon. And again, Movistar Riders cleaning up nicely here. And look at this, Sideshow, 85% to nothing. eUnited have been unable to find anything so far here on this map.
Movistar Riders are playing the reactive triple DPS style perfectly. Most of the time this is a very aggressive initiating composition, but they're managing to make it work beautifully reactively, picking off individual targets as soon as they go in. There's Valutaja, for example, trying to harass them from behind. Sharik as well, instantly onto him in the back line. Sound barrier used. They've still got the Tactical Visor to work with as well, but actually Sharik's Primal Rage gets Dante and Finzi, so this could be a flip in overtime for the team.
Still going to be pretty close as Unfixed dies off, and Sharik actually is able to help find that kill on Colsey alongside Cruz, and Cruz not having that Dragon Blade is certainly going to set them back a little bit. Morte right now going to get that sound barrier up, and they're going to need it for this next fight, but at 99% there for Movistar Riders, eUnited literally has to win every single fight from here on out, which is going to be, what do you think, 3 or 4 fights here before they're actually able to maybe even take this one.
And as soon as they use this sound barrier, then all of the ultimate advantage is in favor of Movistar Riders as well. So yeah, they might lose this fight, and yeah, it might take up to 50%, something like that. But Movistar's still in a great position to be able to take this, and they're just seeing if they can pick off individual players. The more damage they do, the higher their ults build. And if they can find picks on the United guys, then their ultimates don't charge as quickly. But in general, it's going to be a regroup and repush with the Transcendence Barrage, Tactical Visor, Pulse Bomb. They've got all of the tools they need to be able to retake this and take Lijiang. It's all down to the execution.
It'll be up to Unfixed and Rubicon to try to keep things in their favor. We see the Tact Visor coming out. That's going to be nano boosted. He shouldn't be able to find all too much there, but he actually does find Logix, and they're trading now as Swoosh finds 2. Cruz and Morte going to die off. Unfixed gets pushed off. Rubicon and Valutaja fall as well, and that will be that. Movistar Riders not only getting that point, but should be able to push Sharik away. And overtime will tick down, and that will be a 3-2 win here on Lijiang Tower for Movistar Riders as they take the map, and that'll be 1-0 in the series in their favor.
Great play from them. Excellent execution at the end, and overall throughout the series. Valutaja who gets play of the match, but he won't be feeling too great about the end result there, even though the performance from eUnited made it incredibly close. And these two teams, if we see this level of competition throughout the rest of the series, it's going to be one hell of a best of 5, because we have only just begun with this upper bracket final, and it's already an incredibly tight game between these two teams.
Honestly, I'm really excited about Movistar Riders at the moment because, I mean, as we were going through the group stage, you know, we were certainly looking at this kind of team and looking at the roster, and they felt good, right? I mean, I think both of us, we were casting on those first couple of days with the group stage, and Movistar Riders definitely looked good, but to see them here in the upper bracket finals, not only just here in general, but also doing so well against eUnited, a team that I think both you and I felt like was going to be in the situation, is incredible to me. And it just goes to show you that Movistar Riders is a strong team, but I think they're also a team that is still building. I think they still have room to grow, a lot of room to grow. I mean, we've seen this team definitely pick themselves up, and certainly they're looking better than ever, but I think they could get even better than this, and that's kind of scary for some of these EU rosters.
It definitely is. On the flip side, I actually feel like that about a lot of the European rosters as well. Yep. Dignitas have definitely got, like, they look like they've really made a lot of progression and they're looking good, but they can clean up their execution. I feel like they've got more flexibility than some of these teams, but their execution isn't quite on the same level as Movistar and eUnited, where that is really their bread and butter, is how well they're able to pull off these strategies. And the other teams as well who've already been eliminated. Misfits, I feel, have still got untapped depths to their roster. They're just struggling at the moment with pulling that out across the board and actual performance in matches. It's been a hell of a tournament. If I told you that NiP and Misfits would be two of the first top teams to be eliminated, I don't think people would have believed us early on.
Yeah, NIP getting taken down by Dignitas as well as Misfits, and now you have to wonder, I mean, obviously eUnited, Movistar Riders, both very, very strong teams. We've already seen Team Dignitas actually taken out earlier by eUnited, and that was a 2-0, but as things have kind of swapped around, and Dignitas definitely looking very strong right now, I mean, what do you think Dignitas' chances are going into that lower bracket final, whoever winds up losing this one? I mean, do you think that they're going to have a pretty good shot? Do you think that they've been able to step up in the past 48 hours, that they're going to be able to put on a show here?
I have no idea, because when I was watching them prior to their game against NIP and Misfits, I really thought this was a team that had a lot of potential, Dignitas, and a lot of flexibility and variety in the compositions they could bring to the table. But in the group stage, their execution definitely looked lacking. They lost to eUnited and they lost to Movistar Riders. But in that game, particularly against Misfits, they pretty much outclassed them, and they beat NiP based on basically their execution as well. So I think they're still the underdogs going into it. It might have just been a run of good form yesterday, but I think it's pretty level across the board. If we're talking parity in the European scene, it's pretty level with all of these teams at the moment, and it's just getting individual edges in certain games, and you see a lot of these teams have taken series off each other just even within this tournament. Yeah,
and we also see Laser Kitten stepping up a little bit as well, and on top of that, we also have teams like Vivi's as well making plays, as Singularity has come through as well. I mean, I definitely think I was expecting a little bit more from Vivi's Adventure in this playoff series, as they looked so good in their group stage, and I would have considered them one of those teams that could have made a run of it in like a lower bracket setting, maybe making it to take on, you know, kind of like an NIP situation where they were able to push through where Dignitas was or something like that, or where Singularity was rather. But they actually got taken out by Singularity. So again, that parity in the EU scene, I have to agree, is very, very strong right now. And I think things are very close, kind of neck and neck, as certainly you see teams like Movistar Riders and eUnited coming through a little bit ahead of the rest of the teams, but I don't think it's that far away. And now moving into this second map, it is going to be Route 66 here, and we will see Movistar Riders as well as eUnited combating here, and that's going to be Movistar Riders on defense first. What do you make of this first map? Who do you think has the slight edge?
If we look based on their record within this tournament, Movistar Riders have not played Route 66, so they've neither won nor lost, and eUnited are 1-0, and it was Dignitas that they actually beat on this map. Neither of the teams have chosen to pick it or go to it, so it's not going to be one of the most comfortable ones for these two teams. But in general, I think eUnited have probably got the advantage here. When you look at them on payload maps, they are very good at being able to get the snowball rolling, particularly on attack, and end up finishing in lightning time. They really put a lot of pressure on the defending team.
The two maps that I probably would have been afraid of if I was Movistar were probably Route 66 and actually maybe even a little bit King's Row. I think that eUnited has
for sure.
a really, really solid King's Row, and that's one that you know, I was kind of expecting eUnited to pull out actually in place of Route 66 here. I thought that they were just going to pull that one out right away. But they're going with Route 66 to start things off, and maybe sending KR deeper into the pool a little bit to maybe be pulled out by Movistar Riders, and maybe, you know, they could take advantage of that and then have their advantage in terms of getting the, you know, technically 2 picks, depending on what Movistar wants to do after this. If eUnited is even able to take this one, because obviously Movistar Riders can certainly steal this one away, but going into this one here, starting things off, we do see a 2-2-2 strat coming out from the side of Movistar Riders, as Kolsty going over to that Reinhardt, and we will see Logix and Swoosh on Soldier 76 and Genji respectively. And Logix definitely performed quite well with that Tracer last time in Lijiang Tower, but now we're going to be swapping over to that 76 with Finzi actually on the Zarya here.
Finzi Zarya has been good so far in the times that we've seen it. It has been fairly rare that these teams have not been playing fairly heavy dive compositions, but now they've got the Reinhardt. Kolsty posted up on the low ground as well, so this is the kind of situation though that eUnited loves, I think, where they are playing into a 2-2-2 or a tanky composition, and they can afford to dive deep and pick off targets and beat the team that initiates. So Colsey might have his hands full with this one. He's going to get focused down pretty hard, I think.
And they're diving all over him, and that's one thing that's scary about eUnited on the payload side, but Swoosh going to be taken out. eUnited pushing the payload forward, and they should be able to wipe this up. We do see Logic still up on Big Earls with Dante, and they're trying to control that high ground, but at any point we could see the rest of eUnited swinging around and just executing them. And in the meantime, they're still just pushing this payload on through. Dante going to get taken down pretty low, and it is going to be Colsey back up on the point, getting ready. He was eliminated quickly last time. We'll have to see if maybe he can survive a little bit longer this time.
It's so difficult playing that Reinhardt. He's got the pulse bomb on him already, and he's already incredibly weak. Rubicon's going to finish him off. He's only got a shield on one side, and he's playing against a dive comp that comes at him from all angles, blinks through, swift strikes through. It's incredibly difficult to play Reinhardt against his composition, but for the moment, they're looking like they're going to be able to stall just about. Finzi using his projected barriers just to get it. They forced out the Transcendence as well, so there's a positive for them. Even if they lose this, they'll be able to use a couple of their ultimates to get back in, and actually they're finding the better end of this fight in the end as well. Dragonblade used from Swoosh, and he's picked up a couple of kills.
This is still kind of back and forth here, though. I mean, we do see kills coming out from both sides as Movistar Riders coming back in, and the payload, again, has gotten so close to this first objective, and we do see Dante coming through, saved by the sound barrier, though, as it was Valitaja trying to come over and put some pressure on him. Sleep Dart coming out there from Dante. That was so clutch to be able to shut him down, and they should be able to find that kill. But Shark coming in is going to be able to find the kill on Dante, and to take out Swoosh as well. Shark is some kind of monster.
Oh, that was ridiculous. They had just waited. They were trying to get maximum impact out of that. Leave Valitaja on the ground, finish him off later on. But Shark jumps in, kills Rubicon just with the blast as soon as he lands. Sorry, kills Dante with the blast as soon as he lands. And then immediately just protects Valitaja, keeps him alive, and they continue steamrolling. Get 2 kills out of it. That one went pretty badly for Movistar.
Valitaja in kind of a bad position here, but does actually get that Harmony Orb, and will be able to get back into the fight. And again, Shark with a huge play to be able to clutch out that first point, and now they're swinging him around here, trying to take advantage of the fact that they can get behind these guys. But Neptuno already took out Unfixed, and it looks like Movistar Riders should be able to just go ahead and steal this one away. Couple of options. I mean, we pull back here for eUnited, and certainly you see Unfixed with that tack visor. Rubicon and Morte getting pretty close here. But of course, on the other side of things, you know, you got the Graviton Surge for Finzi, and a lot of control coming out of that Earth Shatter potentially as well, with really no way to block it. It's really just going to come down to if eUnited can actually kind of scatter around and make it hard, just with the fact that they're a dive comp and taking advantage of the geometry of the map to get away from that Earth Shatter from having a big impact.
The teams that we've seen best defending on this with the tanky compositions have been able to use the geometry of the map just to kind of move forward, block the payload, and be able to get together in Deathball. Logix uses his Nano Visor, but he's not going to be able to find any kills or really that much damage so far either, it seems. Transcendence is popped out of Rubicon. He's going to move forwards with this, see if they can get the pick onto Kosti early on, but that's an Earth Shatter. Cruz and Valutaja are put to bed on the floor, but they're still finding the kills, and this attack cannot be stopped.
And Logic's now forced back. Doesn't have his heal coming up though, so Valutaja as well as Rubicon actually able to find that last kill. And with 2:40 on the clock, certainly eUnited looking pretty strong on their attacking side. And now Unfixed here with that tack visor still, as he's been holding on to that for a little bit. And now jumping up top, trying to get some advantageous high ground. And he's going to be looking for an opportunity to attack visor as soon as possible. That payload's still moving there. And the Graviton coming out.
The reflect coming out from Cruz. Oh, and Finzi had been holding that one for so long, but it gets bounced straight back into his face. They clean up all of the kills, and eUnited have so much time to be able to take the warehouse. 3.5 minutes here. This triple DPS dive comp has just not stopped moving. The snowball is real right now. It's an avalanche.
Cruz diving in as well with a, I mean, basically saved the day there with a nice play to reflect that up. But he's going to be taken out. Colsey coming through once again. And these Winstons have been incredibly lethal so far between these two teams. And of course, we did see him making that swap off of that Reinhardt. Now getting aggressive here as Unfixed takes one of his own on Logix, but should be able to get back in here. But make it 2 here for Unfixed as he takes out both of the DPS there. Only Finzi remains, and they're putting some pressure on him in the back, and he's forced to get off to that back right side as Logic's coming off of respawn. And we do see Neptuno and Dante's ults both coming up as Colsey going to be dropped pretty low on that side, and looking for an opportunity for Movistar Riders to pull out those supports, and not actually going to really need them, as they've already found 2 kills. Unfixed and Shark going to be dropping here. Rubicon does have that Transcendence once again, and they've had great performances with it once he's able to get it. But of course, they need to have everybody up and healthy before they want to pull that one out.
Good discipline from Movistar Riders. It would have been so easy to pop a support ultimate there just to make sure that you got the fight, but instead they just kind of grind it out and make sure they have a reply for Morte and Rubicon, who are just coming online with theirs now. They only need to win 1 fight. Whoa, Sherritt going incredibly weak. Is he gonna die? No, the Transcendence popped out to keep him alive, and that's the initiation coming out from eUnited. The spawn advantage vastly in favor here of Movistar Riders, as sound barrier is used for both teams as well, and it's still fairly even.
6v5 in favor. Actually, switch is almost immediately as eUnited flip the momentum back in their favor, but it's going to be Fenzi pulling out that tac visor, looking for a couple of kills to try to get it in theirs, and he finds Unfixed right after the tac visor goes out, and that's going to be actually Shark coming back through as he's able to go ahead and support his teammate right after that death, and we'll be able to trade that kill, and that's very important. Gets slept, actually. Shark woken back up somehow, though, as both Primal Rages are out, and Shark all over the backline here of Movistar Riders, trying to zone them off, and he needs to find Dante here to try to get him out. It does actually pull the barrier down, which is huge for them, as Taja comes over, supports that kill as well, and we do see the Discord out onto Colsey. They find that kill, and it's just the Tracer on the point at the moment, as I believe Swoosh should be able to come back over on the Mei as he does make that swap. Dante coming out of the spawn as well, and they're just looking to stagger this one.
Fenzi just getting onto the point. He did such a good job at shutting down the tactical visor last time. Dante on the Diva as well, but he's going to be demeched. Swoosh on the Mei, but he's already used his ice block, and the ice walls came out as well. eUnited will not be denied, and they make it. Complete the map with 57 seconds on the clock. But that was a decent delay as well, it's got to be said, because if you compare that last portion to the pace of the rest of the map, it looked like Movistar Riders were going to be in for a nightmare, but 57 seconds is just about doable if they have a really lightning offense of their own, and triple DPS in general favors the attack.
Now they will be able to set their own pace, and we'll have to see if Movistar Riders is able to go quickly. I mean, they had a decent defense. They pulled a lot of time away from eUnited, actually. I mean, 57 seconds, while it's a good pace to be able to finish out, it's not as fast as I think eUnited would have liked. So now they're going to have to really kind of come through and step up on the defensive side to be able to shut down Movistar Riders, who, again, look so strong with their dive comp that it's going to be kind of tough, actually, I think, for them to make this stop and have a time advantage at the end of things.
eUnited, though, are one of the teams, much like Rogue, who have not decided to run with tanks on their defense, essentially. A lot of these teams that still like the triple DPS on attack favor the tanks on defense. Teams like Movistar, Dignitas, Misfits. But for eUnited and Rogue, they instead have spent their time practicing defending with triple DPS. And the idea of it is that you're going to force many more fights because you can engage much more often. And when you win them, you can push back up more aggressively. So you're aiming to bleed a lot of time off early in the map, and then hopefully stall them out later on once they don't have that much time on the clock. So eUnited, I think, will be reasonably confident in their defending prowess here, and this is going to be a scrappy one, I think, for Movistar.
The thing I like about that is that with the typical defensive style, I mean, if you lose every fight, you typically only get about 2, maybe 2.5 fights if you can get a stagger on this first point. Whereas, you know, you might even be able to get 3 or 3.5 kind of fights where, again, that half fight being kind of like a staggered one as you come in, if you do play that very aggressive style that you were just talking about. So you can definitely pull time away pretty effectively, but we will see eUnited coming out on the side and Unfixed in a nice position here up top, shooting through that cave there. Just pushing through the tunnel a little bit, but it is going to be with 30 seconds down, the payload finally rounding that corner, and now things are going to start looking pretty deadly here as Colsey already dropping the barrier, and now eUnited sees that. They're going to get aggressive because they have a little bit of an advantage going through, but Shark forced back now as Dante and Fenzi already get dropped. eUnited with a nice defense so far, and again, just taking advantage of the fact that that barrier came down in a pretty weird spot, wasn't really covering much, and then they didn't have any more of that protection, and just kind of punished there by eUnited.
Especially with Dante going down really early in the fight, the advantage of Rubicon's healing from the backline really favored them. And essentially Movistar can't get onto Rubicon unless they want to sacrifice their own position and get picked off in turn. And this Nano Boost is live so early on here. Sharek diving deep. Nano Boosted Winston picks up 2 kills already. Dante and Finzi die. And eUnited, they didn't even really need to be winning these fights conclusively, but they are anyway.
Again, I mean, really comes down to the fact that, I mean, if eUnited is able, excuse me, to pull out just a couple of fights, I mean, that's going to put them at a pretty distinct advantage. And now with the performance that we've seen from them, Valataja coming up with the pulse bomb, more than likely to pull that out in this next fight very early on to try to take advantage of that. Looking for a pick here, more than likely onto Dante, but he gets taken out again by Finzi. Finzi's definitely had his number so far, as Shark falls as well. Ultimate's being pulled out by Movistar Riders to try to clutch this one out. Cruz finally able to make a trade here and fall back, and it's going to be Unfixed coming through with Attack Visor, looking to try to take down the Genji, but with the Harmony Orb and the Deflect, they're putting some major pressure onto him, and that's going to be Logix finding that kill. As again, Movistar Riders looking to push this objective. Shark going to come off of that respawn and now looking for an opportunity to re-engage with the rest of his team.
But they've only lost one fight here. The payload has barely gone past the first bend of Big Earls, and they managed to get 2 fairly large ultimates in terms of the Sound Barrier and Dragon Blade expended from Movistar as they try and push. So definite opportunity to re-engage. They've got the Primal Rage to try and stall for ages as well, and they could potentially win another fight here at United.
Dante getting pressured out a little bit, and we do see Shark eliminated very quickly there as Swoosh comes through to support Finzi's pretty standard attack visor kill there, coming out with some support there from the dash, and that's going to be Rubicon eliminated as well. Movistar Riders pushing this one on through, and that's going to be the payload reaching that first objective. 3:43 on the clock here.
Sharek not using his Primal Rage as well, and Rubicon's still got a Nano Boost to work with, but already Movistar trying to get as much pressure on these front entrances to the caverns as they possibly can, because the longer they can keep eUnited out and keep moving the payload forward, it can't be stopped, and they can get some ground purely for free. So this is really aggressive attack here, and Transcender's popped out as well, but both of the supports die immediately from eUnited as they try and get out through this tiny little choke point entrance, and the cart will continue rumbling forwards.
But will be Shark on the point. Actually does finally get eliminated there as Colsey jumps over to support Neptuno, who was actually kind of low there. But they are going to be pushing this one forward as it does hit that 3-minute mark, pushing to this second objective. And eUnited looking for an opportunity now to jump back in and have to wait for Shark to make that happen. And they're sliding around the side here, and they have that Nano Boost available. But, I mean, obviously the big thing here is you want to be seeing it on someone like Cruz to be able to wipe the floor with these guys. But a lot of these ults have been shut down a lot. Swoosh coming out with the Dragon Blade of his own, looking for the kill onto Morte. They find it right before actually he found the kill on the Rubicon, so no supports left at all. But Unfixed and Valataja coming through somehow, despite the fact that they have no supports, they're able to shut down Movistar Riders, finding those last couple of kills, and Shark with the Primal Rage able to secure his own life long enough to find the spacing for them to make those plays.
They had to put a lot of resources there onto Sharek in order to break through. They used the Nano Boost, he jumped through, that gives him the damage resist, as well as being able to put pressure onto Neptuno, managed to take him down, and Swoosh was also weak coming off of his Dragon Blade. And even though their supports have died, it allows the rest of their DPS players room to engage. But now Movistar are looking for blood.
And they are all over these guys. Dante going to be dropping, though, as Logix finds one, and that's Rubicon actually with the Pulse Bomb. So again, we're seeing Rubicon taken out very early on. And Logix now untouched up top, going to be able to find Morte, and should be able to deal with Valataja as well as Neptuno comes over to support that. And Swoosh literally just swooshes in and finds that kill on Cruz as well.
He's got an onomatopoeic name, which is a beautiful word, Swoosh. But they have the potential to re-engage here for one last fight at United, and if they can, they've got the spawn advantage as well. They need to block it before the checkpoint. They do get onto there, but Rubicon's had to give up a lot of life for that position, as well as Sharek, and they're slowly getting whittled away.
And that's going to be another kill. I mean, Movistar Riders have been just wiping the board here with them, but again, that pace kind of similar to eUnited's actually at the moment, and we do see them pushing into this last stage of the map, and very likely to see eUnited just stalling out, trying to take off more time. And again, I mean, a minute and a half from being tied up with that 57-second time that we saw eUnited pulling out, but they have to win 2 more fights at least here to be able to pull this out. And Valataja actually getting taken out very early on as he was trying to get aggressive and slow down that payload. And Logix coming up with 2. Dragon Blade coming out from Swoosh as he actually gets killed off and it looks as though eUnited might be able to just get aggressive here and make a wipe out of this.
They thought that they got a couple of picks that they would be able to work with, and they probably would have done as well if Swoosh was able to stay alive, but now eUnited smell the blood in the water and they're trying to come forwards. eUnited taking the nano boost as well. He's forced a primal rage out, and Kosti, already weak, has to escape. They've used the Transcendence as well, and Kosti was put to sleep in the back line, so they can't even particularly engage with this one, and eUnited having a field day here, going to be able to pick up a couple of kills towards the end of it, force them back, and they've stopped the payload really early when all of those ultimates on the board, if it goes just slightly the wrong way, that could be the end of the map, because you start a snowball rolling and get ultimate disadvantage.
So despite the fact that Valotaja caught himself a little bit off, I mean, it basically just wound up being eUnited turning that into a nice baiting scenario. They found 2 kills and just pushed off of it, and somehow were able to win that fight. A nice sleep onto Kolsti to reduce some of the pressure that he was going to have with that Primal Rage, even though he was already kind of pulling back, and they were just able to jump at them because of that. And now Dante actually getting pressured in the back. Shark going to be able to find that kill, but it's going to be Fenzi returning fire. He does have that tac visor as they're looking for that kill on Rubicon. That's going to be eUnited actually wiping up here. Unfixed in the back even still, and just holding on the point, and they really need him in this next fight, so he's just going to continue contesting, and that's going to be it for him. Both, actually, sorry, Fenzi with that tactical visor still holding on to that. Swoosh getting ready with the Dragon Blade, and they have a lot of firepower going into this next fight here.
Movistar Riders are really good at being pushing up as soon as they get players down from eUnited and applying a lot of pressure when they're trying to spawn or just set up position. And they've got both of the DPS ults to do that with right now. Dragon Blade into the back line, immediately picks up Unfixed. They're trying to reply. They've got the Primal Rage out. Focus down so quickly. Sherrick had barely had it out there and he's dead. And this cart is making phenomenal progress, going past the line, but they only did it with 15 seconds on the clock. So big time advantage here, Hurix.
Definitely 42 seconds here. When it comes down to a pure payload map, those extra seconds are going to mean a lot, and we're more than likely going to be seeing some pretty aggressive. I think we're going to be seeing some pretty aggressive defenses here, just trying to win out like a first and second fight kind of scenario. I mean, if one of the defenses wins that first fight, that's going to be, horrifically dreadful for the other team, because it's going to have so much impact given the fact that there's really like almost no time at all left here, and the defense here from eUnited looking to try to make a stop. And again, I kind of imagine that they're going to want to be pretty aggressive, actually.
Yeah, and if you consider how the previous defenses have gone, eUnited were phenomenal on the first stage and delayed them for almost the entirety of the time. They just fell to pieces a little bit on the second because they were never able to establish control, because Movistar did an excellent job of locking them out and making sure they couldn't establish position. But on this first point, where that was never the problem, they were fantastic. They won, 5 team fights in a row before Movistar finally got ultimates on the board and started it rolling. So you've got to favor them. If it's anything like the previous the regulation time that we saw rather than the time bank, then eUnited should walk away from this feeling excellent about themselves. Movistar are the ones with the pressure on them because they absolutely have to pull some kind of progress out the bag, otherwise their defense is going to be just so tense.
eUnited actually opting not to go for that very aggressive style. Obviously, if they die off on that with that, they would be putting themselves in a bad position, and they did very good with this hold style when they were on defense last time, so I imagine they're just going to want to try to make a repeat here. Fenzi getting pressured actually close to that health pack as the payload comes over, and this is going to be the fight opening up. Kolsti actually jumping in, and both barriers down for these Winstons, and deflect down as well for Swoosh here, and great opportunity for eUnited if they want to get aggressive. They're looking for that opportunity as Kolsti again getting pressured. Does have his barrier dropped. He's going to be dropping there as well as Logix finds one on Shark. So both of these Winstons are down now as actually Unfixed pulling back. Fenzi finds a kill onto Valotaja, and honestly, the impact from Valotaja has definitely been lessened here as Fenzi has had his number.
For sure, everybody on eUnited, this is looking very strange. They're playing more tentatively, they look a little more scared, they don't want to make mistakes, and because they're playing more passively, it seems like they are. They're giving room for Movistar to breathe, and they've won this first fight. Now, in the overtime, it becomes a battle of how far can you take this payload without losing a fight, and games can be won or lost based on that metric alone.
And we have to basically wait. eUnited I'm certainly wanting to get their whole team involved in this next fight, as Valotaja again trying to combat Logix here. It does have his recall down. Pulse Bomb going out. Shouldn't be able to find a kill, but they do actually find enough damage onto Swoosh that Cruz is able to follow up and find that kill. Unfixed looking to try to return fire with attack visor of his own. They do find Finzi, and that looks like it might be it. eUnited somehow battle back, and they're able to make the stop here in overtime, and it's 82 meters that we saw that go, and 142 on the clock. Are eUnited going to be able to pull this one out?
Oh, definitely winnable by both teams here. They've set themselves a reasonable win condition from Movistar Riders on the defense, but eUnited could very easily take it as well. They've got more time on the board here. 1 minute and 42, was it? Something like that. Yeah, 1 minute 42. But in general, that's probably not going to make that much difference unless they have, if they have a phenomenal beginning to the map, then it doesn't matter how much time is on the board because they're probably going to reach the first checkpoint anyway. And if it gets to overtime, then it doesn't matter because it's just based on how far can you push it before losing a single team fight. So definitely comes down to these first couple of engagements. And it seems like Movistar are not too comfortable with the tank defense that they were previously running with. They want to get much more aggressive. And they look like they're posted up to try and contest this immediately, like we've seen from a lot more of the North American teams recently.
Yeah, going for that more aggressive style, trying to pull time out because obviously they are down 42 seconds, at least initially, and now they have to somehow make a stop for almost 2 minutes, which means they have to either hold it on that first corner and in front of Big Earls if possible, and that's going to be rough because they essentially have to win 3 fights there, or they go aggressive and, you know, try to get that first fight, and if they lose, they have another opportunity to engage on that second fight. But as things starting off here, we do see Colsty running in, contesting the point, trying to steal as much time away as possible here, and again, if they die off, and which should happen, I mean, this positioning alone should give advantage to the side of eUnited, then I mean they will be able to re-engage pretty quickly here, and we already see eUnited getting that kill off on Colsty, but Cruz was taken out. Again, they have a big advantage in terms of the spawn point as well. Neptuno taken down pretty low, and Swoosh just trying to get aggressive. They're just stealing time away. I mean, now we're down to a minute, and now things are kind of evening out a little bit as they're going to be dying off, but they should be able to re-engage at a decent spot. And again, they haven't, I mean, eUnited unable to find these kills.
And a lot of the ultimates are being built up across the board, and that helps with delaying as well, because Dante and Finzi very close to their ults.
Oh!
Even if they die here, they'll be able to come back in, surely, but United getting the better end of it. I expect some kind of re-engage, though, within the next 40 seconds, and a lot of ultimates on the board.
Oh my god, Rubicon is murdering everybody. What is this guy? He's been just absolutely just taking people out there with the right click from Zenyatta, and now he does have his Transcendence up, and that's going to be potentially a game saver for them, as obviously everybody's going to be trying to jump onto the point, which is going to give a huge advantage to eUnited as things progress towards this point here, and it's going to come down. This is the last fight here with 10 seconds remaining. Transcendence more than likely to come out here. Neptuno somehow holding out. Finzi taken down pretty low as he's actually going to put himself far away from Unfix so that he can actually hold that one out. Colsteve somehow finding 2 kills though, and they're battling into this one. Unfix wrapping back around, putting himself in a pretty precarious position actually. Valataja finally coming alive with 2 kills there off the pulse bomb. That's one onto Logix as well, and we do see Swish pulling out that Dragon Blade, looking to get back into this one as Cruz already threw out one of his own, and he's looking for that kill onto the Winston, and it's just Sharak on the point at the moment. Barrier goes down, and he's going to get that health pack and stay alive for just a little bit longer. They finally find that kill, and it's still holding on with Cruz Morte back onto the point. It's going to be Rubicon there as well, as he's getting reduced down pretty low himself. Morte pulling out that sound barrier, not going to be able to save Rubicon. Actually, he's only able to get himself and Cruz as they get taken out very quickly. Finzi once again on the point, and they're cleaning things up. Overtime will tick out, and that will be once again another map win pulled out by Movistar Riders as they take it up to 2-0.
That's so clutch. That's ridiculous from Movistar Riders. They had to engage there, and I don't know how Colsty gets those initial first 2 kills. Unbelievable play from him. Lands on somebody, kills them with the impact, and then manages to chase another player down when they'd only just come in. And Finzi had already wasted his tactical visor in the previous fight, so they were down an ultimate. They didn't even play it perfectly. They just absolutely clutched it in the final moments.
Great performances there. I mean, I think Finzi actually has been incredibly pivotal in this matchup, and very instrumental in trying to shut down Valataja. And Valataja has been a very big impact player alongside Cruz to be able to, again, that aggressive style from eUnited basically relies on those 3 guys up front, Cruz, Valataja, and Sharak, to be able to jump on people. They've been very, very good about, you know, jumping in together and finding that very quick burst damage. But with Valetaja reduced to a lesser impact because of Finzi, I mean, it's been a struggle for them to actually win these fights as quickly and as efficiently as what we've seen in the past, and certainly against other teams like Misfits. So Movistar Riders definitely handling them pretty well and finding a pretty strong way to combat that. Now, going into this next map, it could potentially be Series Point, and we might actually see eUnited dropping here on this after this next one. But again, they have another opportunity to pull out a map of their choice, and that map is going to be Nepal.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty good map pool overall for eUnited. Movistar Riders, of all the maps that are currently in this pool, in this tournament, they've had the most losses on Nepal. They lost to Misfits, and they also lost to Vivi's Adventure. And in general, it looked like a map that they weren't that comfortable playing the triple DPS, or playing against triple DPS, rather. They are 3 for 2 on the map, and they've beaten Dignitas and NIP, although that NIP game was insanely close and obviously completely different to playing the triple DPS mirror composition. But it's a crazy situation to be in. Movistar Riders 2-0 up in this series, and eUnited have the opportunity to go to Nepal or Kings Row. Route 66 even, they probably should have been favored on, and when they were playing it, they looked excellent, but just pipped to the post in both of these maps. These two teams are so close.
So what do you make, actually, of eUnited not wanting to pull Kings Row out? I mean, they pulled out Route 66 and Nepal as opposed to Kings Row. I mean, again, that's a map that I probably would have pulled out if I was United, but what do you make of that with them, I guess, in a way, kind of hesitant to pull out what I consider one of their better maps?
I think it's probably come down to the fact that, so what you have to take into account as well is that what we are seeing as spectators and casters is their performance only in tournaments, and there have been like a notable dearth of European tournaments recently, and therefore matches and data to be able to draw these conclusions from. Whereas these European teams have been scrimming each other and talking to each other that have been scrimming each other for months now, and that's been like their rotation, is playing smaller tournaments and playing scrims against each other. So I think it's probably more to do with that, because certainly when you look at the data, eUnited are 4 for 1 on Kings Row. They absolutely slammed everybody that they played, essentially, apart from NIP when they lost that series in the groups and they looked kind of shaky anyway. But otherwise, Kings Row has been a phenomenal map for them. Movistar, I've only played it once, and they did demolish Vivi's Adventure on it, who I think are a reasonably good Kings Row team as well. So it's probably that eUnited feel they have an advantage over Movistar on these maps. They probably feel like Movistar isn't as good as them, like comparatively, on Route 66 in Nepal, whereas Kings Row, I think, is probably a decent map for both teams. And although eUnited are really good there, they don't want to allow Movistar to be in their comfort zone. But these two teams are so closely matched, and their map pools and their styles are so similar, that I don't know really whether the maps are going to play into it that much anyway.
And looking at Nepal, I mean, Movistar Riders was able to beat out NIP, and of course NIP, I think, are a very strong team. So moving into this next map here, again, it is going to be Movistar Riders up 2-0. This is a best of 5, so if they're able to take this one, that'll be it. It'll be eUnited sent down to the lower bracket to take on Team Dignitas, who are surging right now after 3 games won yesterday and on a hot streak at the moment. We'll have to see. I mean, again, Kings Row would have been the map of choice for me for eUnited, but now moving on to Nepal here, it is going to start off on Sanctum, and we're actually seeing the dive.
Yeah, we're seeing the dive. This is the first time, I think, in this tournament that we've seen a dive team play against a triple tank team, as in one team has chosen to stick with triple DPS. Most of these teams, even when they play triple DPS, I was saying before, they like to play it on defense. It's Movistar Riders, Dignitas, Misfits, these teams, they're flexible in the sense that they will move away from the triple DPS and dive in general when they feel the map prefers it. But United, much more like Rogue in the way that they play, and trying to make the triple DPS work in all situations. We haven't seen this matchup yet in terms of style clashes on Sanctum. This is going to be super interesting. I
think we have seen it in NA. I mean, LG Evo likes to pull out with Jake on Genji quite often on Sanctum, but I don't think it has happened on EU. I think you are right about that, and that's going to be very different, actually, as both of these regions have a little bit of some different styles, despite the fact that the comps are very similar, and we will see Unfixed pushing back around, and it's going to be Movistar Riders with some early control, trying to flip the point here as Morte caught out of position, but Shark and Cruz come out out of nowhere, and they're able to take 3 kills instantly. We talked about eUnited, their ability to just get that instantaneous damage and close things out in almost an instant, and man, did they come out of literally the woodwork there to be able to find those first 3 kills.
They're so clinical with their initiation. They all go in at the exact same time, and even though everybody from Movistar there is in a blob, and from spectating, it looks like you couldn't possibly call accurate focus targets, but they do, and they get the damage out, and they find those picks clinically.
And I have to imagine, you know, whoever is calling that target is just over there like, this guy in 3, 2, 1, and they just jump all over him because, again, it's just so clinical. Like you said, the execution is there, but nonetheless, eUnited looking to hold on to this point here, as it does look like it's going in favor here, and we do actually see Cruz jumping onto that as Shark pulls over as well. Valotaja with a nice pulse bomb, and Rubicon actually has managed to get up that Transcendence, so if this should go the other way at any point, we should be able to see Rubicon actually pulling out that Transcendence. But again, eUnited looking quite dominant here actually in this first stage on Nepal.
And they're making switch-ups. They've gone back to the triple DPS. They know that their tank, the coordination that they have within their tank lineup isn't good enough in general. They can't, they're not able to fend off the aggression and put pressure on the eUnited. So they've moved over to triple DPS, which has been working for them so far. They've been winning in general the matchup.
And now we do see Rubicon forced to take out that Transcendence. Cruz already finding a kill onto Finzi, and Neptuno going to be falling as well, and it's going to be Swoosh actually pulling back here alongside the rest of Movistar Riders, as again, eUnited, I mean, with so much control here, they're already able to carry momentum into some of these fights because of these late swaps from Movistar Riders, but now this is really going to be the last fight here, and there's not a lot of ultimates in terms of Movistar Riders' ability to just kind of force the aggression here, but nonetheless, we do see Swoosh pulling back to try to deal with Cruz. Cruz actually does fall down as Unfix going ahead with one of his own. Overtime is ticking up, and that actually does look like we will be seeing that go in favor of eUnited, but it's going to be Colsey jumping on the point, and they're looking for some control. He's actually pretty low here, gets taken down to about 50 HP, is finally killed off as Unfix coming through and being the hero that eUnited needs, and that will be eUnited taking this first map here on Sanctum. And that's going to be a 1-0 so far in the rounds on Nepal, and they need everything they can get, because if you think about it here, if they win this next map, they have to win out on both of the maps of Movistar Riders' choice to be able to take this series. And of course, Kings Row is still in that map pool, which again, I still personally think that eUnited has the advantage on that one. So maybe they're setting themselves up nicely, but they have to be able to win out on Nepal first.
And we saw in that stage the difficulty of playing Control, in that if you realize about halfway through the stage that you've made an error with your composition or have to make an adaptation, you're essentially at an ultimate disadvantage. The snowball has already begun, and there's no way for you to get back in the round. So the adaptation really has to come in between the stages, and they're certainly not going to start on with tanks on Village. They've learned their lesson. It's triple DPS all the way for Movistar.
And now expect eUnited to call out that target. Discord is out onto Colsey, and they're jumping in. They find that kill again. Unfix coming through as well with that Helix rocket, and they're looking for more as Cruz is all over the place with dash resets left and right. And now it is going to be Unfix coming through again, and that's 2 for 2 with those Helix rockets so far. Great performance to start things off, but Logic's coming through with 2 of his own, somehow to battling this one back here for Movistar Riders, and he is going to be backed up a little bit. Harmony going to go out to him, and he's going to find some early damage out to Shark, which is going to give Colsey a little bit of room to work with. And now Morte reduced to about 1 HP. Colsey finding that kill, and it's going to be flipped back. And Movistar Riders, despite the fact that they were playing, I mean, from behind, they do actually pull back in there with Logic's making some huge plays there.
He's been so clutch this entire tournament. I haven't seen this kind of individual performance from Logic's pretty much ever, I don't think, apart from in this tournament. But he's been outplaying some of the best tracers that we have in Europe. And Valotaja is no slouch himself. He is a really solid tracer, but Logic has been getting the better end of him.
We are going to be seeing him looking for an opportunity. He gets the stick onto Unfixed, and that's going to shut down Rubicon as well, as he has no support left. And now Morte going to be falling, and again, a clean sweep here from Movistar Riders as they're holding on to control. And so far here on Nepal, it's been very one-sided for both these teams. Once the first team gets control, it's very much obviously in their favor, as it typically is, but they make it look even more dramatic between these two rosters, as we've been seeing some crazy lethality coming out from the team that is defending the point. And now Rubicon actually getting pressured down pretty low here by Logix again, making some plays, and does find that early kill onto Rubicon. Now looking for some more as Swoosh all over the place with that Dragon Blade, trying to find some more kills, but they have already gotten some pretty good control. Unfixed again with a nice kill coming out from that Helix rocket. They're looking to get back into this fight, but it is going to be Colsey jumping in, pushing them back, giving spacing control now to the side of Movistar Riders, and pulling back to deal with Shark. He is going to be able to find that kill as well. And now Valataja more than likely going to be dealt with. And actually Swoosh finding the kill onto Unfixed, and that's going to be, again, just another clean wipe here for Movistar Riders.
Starting to get ults on the board here, eUnited. They've got 5 live. Cruz is only on 50%, so he's not going to have his Dragon Blade in it, but they've definitely got an advantage here, but it's on 90%. They're going to have to go in, they have to play around the point for overtime, and then they have to have a full recontest all the way back up and reverse sweep it. It's so difficult for eUnited. They've got themselves in a bit of a pickle here. It's going to require some huge plays to get them back into this stage.
They have to be smart about those ultimates too. I mean, they can't just throw everything out because they won't have anything to hold on to the point, as it is 99%, and they're looking for some kills here. One onto Logic's going to come out as Unfixed again with that Helix rocket looking so strong, and we do see 2 ultimates used. They hold on to everything else, but they should be able to take this fight. And now on the side of Movistar Riders, they really don't have anything available, so we should see eUnited at least able to pull out this second fight, but it's going to be that third one, you know, that's going to be kind of a struggle for them. We'll have to see how they're able to manage these ultimates, as both support ults forced out in that last one.
Yeah, ideally, Movistar Riders want to try and get either the Primal Rage or the Tactical Visor out of them here, or one of the DPS ults anyway, and then re-engage with their Transcendence the next fight, and hopefully they can get the better end of that. Cruz is going to pop his Dragon Blade, so there's one ultimate. They got 3 kills with that at the end as Cruz comes through, chopping his way through the entirety of Movistar. They didn't use any ultimates though on the other side, and so now as Dante reaches 80% and Swoosh as well on his Dragon Blade, they've got potential to come back into this, but the Sharik Primal Rage is still going to be sticky, actually.
Now they're going to have to deal with Valataja looking for an opening pick here with Pulse Bomb, and Logic has one of his own, so we'll have to see who gets more value out of that, if any. And now Swoosh jumping up, does have his Dragon Blade pretty soon, looking for a little bit more percentage to go ahead and pull that one out, and that could be what might turn the tides, as it is going to be back and forth. Morte helping out, but actually Swoosh going to be able to just clothesline him there with the shuriken and stopping him in his tracks, as actually Cruz going to be taken out by Logix, and now things are flipping in favor of Movistar Riders. Dante coming off of that spawn, and he does have Transcendence in tow, but now as overtime goes up, Valataja somehow dodging out that dash that came out, but Swoosh does eventually eliminate him, and that will be 1-1 tied up, as Sharik not able to get back onto the point. Movistar Riders able to go ahead and clean things out here on Village.
They're so aware of the ultimates that are live as well. In that last fight, I began talking about the Primal Rage and how it could be a real sticking point for the team, and then instantly Sharik became the focus for Movistar Riders. Logix comes in, puts a load of damage onto him, sticks him with a Pulse Bomb as well, instantly forces out his Primal Rage because he knows that he can't go down because this next fight is pivotal, and then they focus him down, and I've never seen 1,000 health just shred so quickly. He died in about 3 seconds. Instant reply there. But it's going to be 1-1 on the board for these two teams as Movistar Riders quickly reply.
Very, very close matches so far. Even Lijiang Tower was incredibly close. But now on Shrine, one of the most defensible points here. So obviously even more favored than what is typical for King of the Hill maps, going to that first team who can cap out. But we'll have to see if that's going to be either Movistar Riders or eUnited. Both teams on either side of the point just throwing out some early damage, trying to poke these guys down so they have an advantage going into the dive. As of course both teams are utilizing that composition here. Now of course Colsey getting reduced down, almost taken out to about 100 HP as Valataja getting aggressive, and it's going to be eUnited making that first move, forcing Colsey back, and they're going to have that extra little bit of advantage, but he's going to be able to re-engage here. Sharik looking for an opportunity. Morte was going out and zoning these guys off, but it was easily taken out there by Dante, and Sharik re-engaging here as well, as things are back and forth again on this point. And this is very, very important for eUnited to win if they want to be able to battle into this, battle back into this game, and it's going to be Neptuno and Logix coming together for a couple of kills. And but despite the fact that eUnited had that control, they were able to get 20%, but now it's Movistar Riders actually on the point with an opportunity to defend. And again, this one is pretty hard to capture. It's pretty hard to get this one back.
Movistar Riders are impressing me so much with their reactive positioning. eUnited get the advantage really early on in terms of health, and so they're able to take the position without dying. And then when they try and initiate, they just kite them for days, Movistar Riders. They don't lose anybody and then end up getting the reverse pick onto Morte. And eUnited coming back in, sound barrier used here for Movistar Riders as a Dragon Blade also comes out from Swoosh. He picks up a couple of kills there as Unfixed also falls. And Movistar stay in control of the point for now. Such a difficult stage to recapture because the point, the control itself, is also the most powerful place to hold. You've got the high ground, so you can't even tear attention away from the team by focusing the objective like they were doing on Village. It's such a defensible position.
Yeah, not only do you have the high ground, but you have an easy ability to just take advantage of line of sight, whereas the team trying to aggress onto the point is forced to be out in the open more often than not. So we will see Shark taken out there as the Transcendence is pulled out by Dante, but Fenzi pulling out that tack visor as well was able to kind of wipe the floor with eUnited, and now they're sitting at 70%, so certainly looking good. But this is the part where teams are typically able to get back into the fray, and given the fact that we did see 20% go for eUnited, they have a pretty decent shot if they're able to take this point away to be able to hold out for those next couple of fights and perhaps make a play here to get to 2-1. But they really have to be clean about their entry, and Shark actually getting taken down pretty low. We see Cruz pull out that Dragon Blade. They find the kill on the Fenzi, but they have to be able to find more than that off of this. They need more value out of these offensive ults, and he's going to be jumping down, trying to deal with the Logix. Actually does find that kill. Nice dash coming out, and the next one, it should be Dante, but he's pulling back. And again, that reactive positioning that you were talking about, so good for Movistar Riders as Dante pulled all the way back, wasn't able to be contested, and now with Colsey on the point, they're able to close things out. Overtime ticking down, and that should be it here. That's going to be 2-1 in favor of Movistar Riders, and they're potentially one round away from moving on to the grand finals here against eUnited.
I'm so impressed with the calling and decision making of Movistar Riders when they're playing around the ultimates. It's honestly really impressive. eUnited was set up in a great position to be able to retake there and potentially reverse sweep the entire stage. They had a massive ultimate advantage. They'd already put 20% on the board, and it was 80% for Movistar. If they're able to get in position and retake that point, they're able to hold on because they have the ultimate and the ultimate economy to be able to drag the fights out for ages. They're in a decent shot of being able to retake that and steal the round away from Movistar. Instead, Movistar aggressing really early, focused on Morte, so they've got no opportunity to speed boost or heal up or even get his sound barrier out because he was on about 80%, and completely shut eUnited out of the round utterly. And now they go 2-1 up, back to Sanctum, and this time they're not starting on tanks.
And both teams going over to that dive comp, which is something you don't see often on this particular map, but certainly with these two rosters just being so strong at dive, it's not out of the ordinary for them. It certainly doesn't feel strange to see this. And now Shark going forward and forced to pull out his barrier just to support the team, and they're going to be falling back more than likely as they don't have that extra little bit of protection. But as that comes back up, definitely expect eUnited to try to be jumping back in. Colsey going to be jumping in himself, and they're trying to look for some early damage, but Shark can't go yet because he needs this health back. He needs to be pulling back, and Logix already finding a kill onto Rubicon. And Logix has been such a pest for these guys as he's gone forward. Pulse Bomb going out. That's going to be yet another kill. And man, Movistar Riders with the first cap. Again, if they're able to win this map, they will move on to the grand finals, and it'll be eUnited going up against Dignitas in the lower bracket finals to see who will take them on. And man, Movistar Riders, I just was not expecting this from them today.
No, they look so good, don't they? And Sharik is having a nightmare of a game. They're focusing him down from so far away. They're just expending all of their resources into stopping him being able to initiate for them. And if you take that single tank for eUnited down really low in terms of his health pool, he can't jump in. He manages to get the jump this time. Discord immediately on him. Cruz has already gone pretty weak. Unfixed is the first to fall as Fenzi uses his tactical visor, picks up another one. Sharik falls to his death for the reset. And eUnited again in dire straits. They managed to flip the point over, so denied 7% and gave it to themselves, but they're still in such a trough here.
And we will see Movistar Riders getting back into position, and they're in a good position for sure, but eUnited getting close now to being in that position to go ahead and make that flip occur as Unfixed coming up with that tack visor. Rubicon has that Transcendence, but Dante has one of his own, so as well as, of course, Swoosh as well. But
Morte was about to die there. I thought he would literally thrown his own life away, but manages to use the speed boost to get back up top, and the Transcendence pop for both teams. Soundbarrier as well, as they both reply, and this tactical visor from Unfix. Are you really going to get any value out of that when everybody's shielded? Doesn't look like it. But force out the Primal Rage, perhaps. And as the ultimates all flitter away, it's still Movistar Riders picking it up. Logix is having a hell of a game.
Somehow, this man has tapped into every little bit of his potential, and he has been coming alive so far. But again, eUnited able to steal away some percentage there in that fight as they just use their ultimates to gain control. Of course, as Colsty was forced to use that Primal Rage just to not fall off of the map there, I'm pretty sure. But now we will see Shark with an opportunity to get on that point with a Primal Rage of his own, and that's going to give them a little bit of an advantage. But Finzi certainly looking for an opportunity to pull out that tack visor. They already kill off Dante with Cruz jumping in at the same time, and they're getting aggressive. Cruz now actually able to kill off Finzi somehow, and Swoosh jumping in. He's the really kind of the lone defender at the moment. He should be dealt with very soon as Reflect is down, and Valotaja able to find that kill. And that's going to be eUnited coming back into this one at 32% now and ticking up. 92% for Movistar Riders. They pretty much have to win every single one of these fights now to be able to claim control of this one here.
It's definitely possible for them. They're starting to tick up to a couple of ultimates, and they have the Rubicon's on 80%. They might be able to match Finzi's ultimate with a trance of their own, but Finzi's got the potential here just to obliterate the enemy team with his tactical visor.
And now Logic's pulling out. Actually, it's Valotaja and Logic's both pulling out their ultimates, and Sharak actually taken down pretty low, but saved there by Rubicon and the Transcendence that comes out. Cruz able to battle out Swoosh in the skies and take him. That's a nice kill for him to be able to push back, and he didn't have to use anything, but he was able to take Swoosh out a little bit, and now Swoosh at 88% here. But of course, looking at where the ultimates are at the moment, with the fact that Rubicon was forced to pull out that Transcendence in the last one to save Sharik, you have to wonder if the aggression from Unfixed and Cruz is going to be enough to deal with both Neptuno and Dante's ults here, especially when they have to combat Swoosh more than likely, and perhaps even Colsty.
They have to get the pick on one of them really immediately, and they do. Dante gets taken down before he can use his Transcendence. That might just about do it. That's the silver lining on what would otherwise be a horrific team fight. Cruz is trying to do his best, picks up 2 kills, but falls himself. That sound barrier only catches Morte, though, and it was too little, too late, it seems, for Movistar. For eUnited, sorry, as Movistar retake the point. Are they even going to get anybody back on the point? It doesn't look like it. Oh, just Sharik touching it slightly. He is going to be able to get there, and we're going to go into overtime, Curix.
And I don't think that they're going to be able to do much with this unless somehow Sharik is able to find a couple kills with the Primal Rage and just knocking people off, but that doesn't look like it's going to be the case as Cruz coming through, though, able to find a kill here, getting reduced down pretty low. Swoosh is all over him, and Finzi now finding a kill on the Valotaja again. That shutdown of that Tracer has been huge for Movistar Riders, and if they're able to pull this one out, if they can win this fight, they will be securing their spot in the Grand Finals, and that will be it, 3-1. Man, what a performance there as Movistar Riders moves forward with a 3-0 series victory against eUnited.
That's absolutely mind-boggling. What a fantastic performance for Movistar Riders. To be fair, the match, like the overall record of the match, belies how close it was, because that was an insanely close series. Every map went down to the wire, apart from this final one where Movistar looked slightly more dominant. They were getting into their stride, but 3-0 over what a lot of people were thinking would be one of the favorites coming into this tournament. Movistar Riders progressed to the grand final. Beautiful performance from them.
And now moving on into this next series of matches here, it is going to be eUnited taking on Team Dignitas, and of course Dignitas yesterday off of a little bit of a hot streak. If we look over at the standings real quick, we can see the performance that they actually had. We started the day off with that first round lower bracket, that second match, Team Dignitas versus Laser Kittens, and certainly they looked pretty solid against Laser Kittens, but you wouldn't have expected what occurred later on throughout the rest of the tournament from that series alone. I mean, Laser Kittens, a pretty strong team, but I don't think really kind of in the same realm as Misfits and NIP currently. And Laser Kittens taking a map, you probably would have expected Dignitas to you know, go and put a show up against NIP, maybe take a map off of them, but they ran through that, and they were able to take out NIP on the bottom side, and then 2-0ing Misfits, looking very, very efficient in doing so. And now they have an opportunity to take on eUnited, who actually did push Misfits down into that lower bracket to begin with, and themselves as well. I mean, now the question is, has Dignitas found their form somehow later in the series, later in the playoffs rather, to be able to take on a team that sent them to the lower bracket to begin with?
It's certainly a question. I'm not sure whether I have the answer, but here's something to keep in mind. Dignitas have had a fantastic run through the lower bracket, yes, but they haven't been playing against the teams who are excellent at executing this triple DPS composition. They were both in the upper bracket, and that was part of why they were in the upper bracket as well. They've been playing more against either the teams that work better on the tanky or 2-2 compositions. For example, NIP and even Misfits has looked better when they're on more of a balanced composition than when they've played heavy dive. And Laser Kittens as well, who are just slightly below them in terms of execution. They really haven't been a team for that long. So although this is a really impressive run, I'm not sure whether they actually have the execution within their composition to be able to overcome them, particularly when they're on the defense and they are favoring these tanky comps. Because so far in what we've seen between these two teams, the triple DPS, if you manage to get your execution down, will tear a train, just wreck everybody in its path, particularly if you like put a Reinhardt there and just ask for it to come into you.
So, moving on into this next match, it is, of course, again, going to be eUnited versus Team Dignitas. That is going to be a best of 5. We're going to be starting things out on Dorado between these two teams, and that will be in just a moment here, as we're going to go to a quick break before we go into that match. Again, that is going to be our last match of the day once we dive into it. So a lot of great gameplay to come, as of course Dignitas back on that tear right now, but we will be back in just a moment. Again, I'm Hurix, and with me is Sideshow Gaming. We'll be back in just a second.